Good evening, everyone. Hello, Rima. Good to see you. Magdalena, Sushma, and Leon. Hi.
Hello.
Good evening. So today's spiritual Saturday journey is about the body image and how do we look at weight management, which is directly or indirectly connected to the way we feel stress or the way we look at sleep patterns, and understanding that there is so much that goes into maintaining of our internal chemistry with our weight story. First, let's understand how is weight related to sleep or stress. Anyone? Any idea? Magdalena? Sushma? Leon? Rima?
Because of stress, sleep gets delayed. But I don't know how it relates to weight.
I think it's about the cortisol levels, like hormones, how our hormones kind of increase. And then I think there's something like it affects insulin as well in our body. I'm a flight attendant, so I struggle a lot with like sleeping. So yeah, I can tell you that affects your weight.
Round the clock working, different time zones, you come back, you don't get adequate sleep, you have to catch up with something else, you're eating untimely. All of that definitely happens. So rightly said, Magdalena. See, what happens is within each one of us, there is something called fight-flight response, which is governed by our autonomic nervous system. So the autonomic nervous system manages and regulates the understanding of how we feel stress. If everything is under our control, we don't feel that fight flight. As you rightly said, that the cortisol coming in, or maybe the epicenter of how the body produces and how much pressure can the liver handle, because liver has an association, or thyroid levels also affect our weight and metabolism. Because whenever you are stressed or whenever you're not emotionally expressing yourself, the thyroid levels also fluctuate. And thyroid is the hormone which is actually responsible for allowing the food assimilation to take place within our intestine. So each time whenever there is an imbalance at thyroid level, which is your self-expression, self-esteem, self-image, how you look at yourself, I'm not good enough. And if that's the reinforcement that you keep doing it to yourself, your thyroid levels also get controlled over a period of time, because you're slowly, gradually, training your subconscious mind, or through the subconscious, your thyroid levels to fluctuate. And that directly comes in with your so many different ways. And there are parts where whenever you are trying to change anything in your body image, you first have to make peace with where you are. See, any situation in your life which you are trying to change, which has a lot of direct correlation with the way you look at yourself, the way you feel, the way you learn your lesson. So only when you accept with the point A from where you are starting is when your transformation journey will begin. And if you are not very aware or alert, and if you don't accept your current point from where you are seeking the change will not happen. You in fact will land up attracting a similar pattern of the same stress coming all over again. Now this is very important. So can we just give me, because they haven't given me the screen sharing and the whiteboard access, just give me a second. Yes, we are back. Thank you for your patience, everyone. So let's understand that in this autonomic nervous system, hello, Sonali. And let's understand that there is, what is the first thing that we do when we observe that we are gaining weight? What is the first thing that we do? Sonali, Prima, Magdalena?
We stop eating much, like we
Exactly.
put a curb on our diet.
Exactly. That's the first thing that we do. Now, the moment you put a control or a curb or, completely start starving, literally, by not eating, thinking that eating less, we will get to the other side and lose the weight quickly. Now, that doesn't help. So what is it creating?
Anxiety.
Yes. Now, the moment, let's say for certain number of years, you were eating a regular diet, which was an X number of calories a day or per meal. Part of it, we utilize it depending upon how active are we, and part of it stays unconsumed. That gets converted into stored fats, especially if your sugar or carbs level are high. You tend to then store the remaining part of the sugar or carbs in the body. Now, whenever you suddenly decide to lose the weight, let's say you came across an ad which said very clearly, okay, within 1 month, reduce 10 kg or a certain number of pounds. Now, what will you do? Naturally, you will go into crash diets, and crash diets is the only, defense or coping mechanism that we know against weight gain. So that crash diet passes on an information to your body as a shock or a sudden change. Now, that is crisis for the body. So the moment you go into crisis, let's say earlier you were consuming 2000 calories through the day and you are burning 600 only. So the deficit or the gap was nearly 1400 or 1500 calories that got stored as fat, isn't it? This was an earlier routine. This I'm talking about a calorie burnout. The moment we go on a diet or when we go on a weight control regime, we reverse that equation. Maybe we take only 800 calories through the day and we try to burn as many as 1500 to 2000 calorie burnout. So whatever is the remaining part of the minus 1400 calories, which is required by your metabolism or which is required by your body as source of energy, what happens is in the body there is sympathetic nervous system that takes you up the crisis or the anxiety curve. It starts burning out your fat. The sympathetic nervous system uses that deficit of 1400 minus calories from the 10 kg fat that initially existed in the body. And it starts rapidly burning out. And let's say within a month's time, sure enough, with that crash approach, you lost 10 kg. Now what happens? The body will see this like a situation where I stored 10 kg fats as my reserved food. I ran out of my resources within 1 month. So it's a big, huge crisis understood by the sympathetic nervous system. So the sympathetic nervous system sends an impulse to the parasympathetic nervous system to this time store double. And it then results into gaining weight from 10 kg to becoming 15 kg story. So whenever normally people say when you go on a crazy diet, and this also happens for many people who also go into a real fasting where they only drink water and eat very less even during Ramadan. So people come back and say, I gained a lot of weight after Ramadan. Where is this coming from? Because in that one entire month of fasting, not just for 21 days, in 1 month, you went on a complete less diet thinking that you will reduce. But the story changed the moment you go back to your normal diet after that sort of fasting or that sort of diet plan, which is crash. The body stores with parasympathetic nervous system and even increases your body weight even more. And that's where things become difficult. And we need to understand that a body image first is about self-acceptance. Each time, the easiest thing where people who you connect with after many, many weeks, the first thing that people comment upon is you've lost weight or you've gained weight. Often, this is the commonest discussion that comes up. Oh, this happened. Your face is showing that you've eaten extra amount of food. Or, oh, you're binging on chocolates. Depression happens, chocolates. Low energy, chocolates. Crisis in life, chocolates. Maybe too much of coffee and sugar intake. Or sometimes you completely go on junk because you are stressed. How is all this connected? Because then your body is receiving so much of that unpleasantness, which then finds dopamine and serotonin through food and the sweets. Then the body does not go on a very high weight management regime or a fitness regime through the day. Now that extra fats or extra carbs starts getting converted into fats and stays in the body. There are ways that only with breathing technique you can, or with affirmations. So let's say you're doing cardio, 1 day heavy weights, 1 day cardio regime if you're going to the gym or even for walks, let's say, because many of our societies in the Middle East have the gyms and cardios or the weight or the walking track or swimming pools, etc. And we all go and visit some of these. So what you do while you're doing any of your regular routine work, you have to also understand that there is an affirmative approach. So while you are walking with the music in your earphones, you keep affirming by my metabolism helps me dissolve my fat, or I am happily shedding my weight to a perfect body weight of this kg, or my body feels light and easy to carry. So with this, you are replacing a negative program constantly with metabolism booster and then replacing your, and before you also even pick up any weight regime or routine, you first have to accept yourself wherever you are. And then things will start changing. Any questions? Anyone? Anyone would like to share their experiences? Magdalena?
Well, definitely, this is so true. What you said about the looking for sweets, because I've observed that I'm struggling for years with emotional eating. So whenever there's something sad happening or like I'm in the really like dark place, the first thing is like, oh, buy a tub of ice cream or something with chocolate. And it's kind of like, there's this link in my head right now that whenever there's something bad happening, that's the medicine, that's the cure. Although I know it's just an illusion.
So that's a wrong program that you've been playing.
Of course, I do. I am aware of that, but still, when you're not very conscious and you're like really in the pain, you're just like,
and you
still
don't
go
have
for it.
Neither, see again, because people do fall back to the therapies, but that's again a route which is difficult because you have to talk about your emotions, your past, your traumas, your relationship. There's so much of work over session after session. So easy is to eat and binge and go off to sleep and nice, you're feeling all the rush of dopamine and oxytocin coming in. Now I'm feeling very sleepy because my belly is full. Because all the concentration of whatever that your mental stress is now gone into the belly. And the belly is heavy so that you don't feel the anxiety, which is the tingling or the butterflies in the stomach. And that is where this whole cycle of eating and sleeping and eating and sleeping, but the only way you can calm your either the conscious mind by sleeping, and for sleeping you need like a good heavy full stomach work, and then we work out. So these are the correlations that we build. Fariba, welcome.
Hello.
Anything you want to share? Any of your case studies or maybe experiences you would like to share?
Oh, I just got to I joined the conversation. I don't know exactly where you are.
No, on the weight management and understanding the weight and associations, that each time the stress and weight is connected, and the stress and the body image, that how do we process food each time, because that's where we are, that we do gain weight, we go on a crash diet. That crash diet actually reduces a lot of weight suddenly, but the moment you go back to the regular diet, the body stores even double. So you lost 10 kg, but then you land up even gaining even more after the crash programs. Or sometimes when the emotional body profile is not doing good, or health is not doing good, is the time when we pick up a lot of coffee, a lot of carbohydrates, a lot of junk, cheesy, greasy stuff, just to satiate your hunger with binging, bulimia. Because then when you eat, you feel guilty. Then you want to completely binge, purge, binge, purge, binge, purge. And that also causes so much of acidity, hypoglycemia, and a whole lot of that. So it's all related to somewhere stress.
What
But
if
people don't want to
eating
work with
is just
stress.
enjoyment, though?
Yeah.
What if the eating is not coming from stress, but is enjoyment? For me, I thought about it a lot. I remember that I had one session with you. And for me, eating, it gets related to enjoyment, because I grew up with my grandmother, which was an extremely good cook.
Yes.
And when I eat, I relate that to the, the
food
family
gets
time.
associated with love. No, then
Sorry?
it's more than then food gets associated with love.
Yes.
Because a lot of times when someone loves you, feeds you with love, oh, eat one more, eat little more, you've not eaten correctly. So maybe there are 4 times or 3 times a meal is given to you, thinking that, oh, you will otherwise undernourish yourself, or you'll not, all of that. So then that becomes like a association where maybe in the core, then the feeling of being unloved is the first thing that goes behind that. That's where the association with food is pleasant.
So how do you cut that?
No, so that's an inner child who falls back on the food as a resource for you to feel loved.
Right.
That's the first thing. So you need to heal and integrate that inner child who's again seeing like a foodie part and saying that, oh, I feel loved only, because that's a childhood association. Because my grandmother's love, I even want to feel now. I'll pick up all the stuff that she used to give it to me, and then we'll create those pleasant associations and feel nostalgic each time when you have those memories coming up with that food.
Mm.
Or sometimes you just simply go and spend time in the restaurants endlessly. So that's the association that we built at times.
Rajeshji, what I think is that basically, yes, I mean, we overeat rather to feel good, to compensate for the lack or for the not feeling good parts of our life.
Yeah.
Right? And then, yes, I mean, we are aware of that, but at times, like, because we cannot heal those parts, then that's why we go on, I mean, and then of course with age the metabolism also doesn't work as actively, so that's the second part. And I mean, I think that with if once you start healing, as you said, through affirmations, through healing your whatever your issues are, through the hypnotherapy, or even EFT can work, right?
Yes. In fact, I'm going to reveal to you in a while from now that there is this video that I came across on TED Talk. I'm going to share that how purely just with breath work, how you completely can regulate your weight, and what is the metabolism to do with breath work, and how you can simply boost it. So I'm going to put this video for a while. Just have a look at it. I'm going to share the screen with everyone, share the sound, and understand. And then after this video is over is where I'll take the questions again. So this is a very famous speaker, Rubin Meerman. Many of his videos are there. Are you all able to see the screen, Sonali? I'll share it again. Yeah. Can you see the screen now?
Time to reflect. Maybe some questions. I know some of you will want to get home.
Yes, we can see it.
We've got about, well, probably 12 minutes is my talk. Maybe it might go for 15. So don't panic if that thing goes over. So here we go. The mathematics of weight loss. Well, let me start with this. Last year, I went surfing in Fiji. And the resort had a photographer following us around taking all these photos, which was really great, except that I couldn't help but notice this. Somehow I'd managed to become 5 kilograms overweight. Couldn't believe my eyes. So I did what they tell you to do. I ate less and I moved more. And within just 3 months, I discovered I'd lost 6 kilograms. So then I did what a normal person does. I did physics, but anyone would do this. I graphed my weight. And when I did the linear regression, I discovered that, lo and behold, on average, I'd been losing 85 grams a day, which got me thinking. In fact, it got me very curious about this question that I've since discovered most people have no clue about. In fact, they've never even thought about this. And to prove my point, I made a little video on Bondi Beach. And the question was this: when somebody loses weight, where does it go? What does it become? How does it get out of your body? You're probably dumbstruck by the question. These people were, so listen to this. Where does it go? Where does the weight go?
Where does it go? Where does it go? Well, I don't know. I don't know.
That I don't know. I don't have an answer for that. These are the mysteries of science, but I have no idea.
Oh, I'd like to say into the ether. Into the ether.
Ether? It gets used up. The universe.
Another dimension.
Doesn't go anywhere.
When she loses it, it comes over to me.
Becomes nothing.
Doesn't exist anymore.
I guess. That's a very good question. Good question.
What a fascinating question.
What would you say?
It goes right in the crapper, mate.
Sweat. Moisture. And sweat. Evaporates.
Evaporated.
To their ass.
In his poo?
Ends up at Bondi Beach.
That's where it goes.
Well, basically, you burn it up as energy.
You burn it as energy?
Heat energy.
Burnt.
In energy.
Burn it as energy?
Heat. Oh.
I don't know. Yeah.
You got me there.
I'm not quite sure.
So what the heck is going on? We're in the middle of an obesity epidemic. I don't need to tell you about it. So why don't these people know the answer to this fundamental question? Because not one of them was right, and we do know the answer. This is not groundbreaking stuff I'm about to tell you. So let me just remind you of a few things you do know. What's the chemical formula for water? H2O. Chemical formula for carbon dioxide? You all know it. Right, so you know what human fat is made of. So what is the chemical formula for human fat? There is such a thing, believe it or not. It's been known since the 60s. It's C55H1O4O6. That's the chemical formula for the average fat molecule in a human body. Some of the molecules might have a few more carbon atoms and a few more hydrogens. Some might have less. They all have just 6 oxygen atoms. That's very important and helpful for later. But this is the average fat molecule, C55H1O4O6. So let's be very clear about this. The difference between that and that is C55H1O4O6. I kid you not. And the difference between that and that, same thing, C55H1O4O6. So how does this stuff get out of a human body? Well, here's the general equation. Looks pretty sort of interesting, slightly complicated. Not if you've done some year 10 chemistry, surely. This is year 10 chemistry, although, well, it's not really, but here's what it says. Fat plus oxygen gives you carbon dioxide and water. That's what it becomes. And this biochemists have known this for ages. You inhale that, you exhale that, that's what happens to it. Amazing. Now, that little arrow there is kind of oversimplifying something called biochemistry. That's 3 years at university. And my apologies to the biochemists. I don't mean to oversimplify, but I'm trying to get to the crunch. It's really complicated. It doesn't just come out of you for no reason. You've got to do stuff. Eat less, move more. We'll come to that in a minute. But look, when you want to lose weight, you want to lose kilograms. That's all kilograms, all that stuff there. So why do people say heat? It burns up as energy, because that's what we've been telling them all this time. And it's very confusing because energy has different units, kilojoules, or you might use calories. And yes, that's heat. That's motion when you move, or it's thinking. Your brain needs energy, or it's growing. But that's not where the fat goes. So what are we talking about here? Well, let me just show you a couple more things. So I've got some carbon dioxide here in its frozen form. We call it dry ice. It's carbon dioxide. It has mass. Thing is, you're not used to seeing it. But here's some dry ice. And it's heavy. And if you put it in water, lo and behold, it does this cool thing and bubbles. Like, you've all seen that before. Well, that's carbon dioxide and water. That's what fat is kind of made out of. But it's not fat. I'm not making fat. That is not fat. So how does that become fat? Well, it doesn't just like that. It becomes sugar first. Plants make fat. Well, they start the whole thing. A plant takes 6 molecules of carbon dioxide and 6 molecules of water, uses an amazing chemical called chlorophyll, holds them together, and then sunlight comes in and it binds those molecules together and it becomes sugar. C6H12O6 is glucose. Fructose, same formula, C6H12O6. Sucrose is glucose plus fructose stuck together minus an H2O molecule, so it's, do the maths, C12H22O5. Right, well, here's some. This is sucrose. Plants make it. And it's this stuff joined together. It's now got chemical energy holding these molecules together so they don't just fly around like that. And by the way, if you drink that, 600 ml of lemon-flavoured soft drink, you'll get 17 teaspoons of this stuff are in there. I'll just quickly show you what that looks like. Here's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17. Right. So if you drink that, it's the equivalent of doing what I just did with a spoon, except munching it all down. Exactly the same, no difference. So if you do that, then what happens? Well, let me explain something else that I've been telling kids for a little while, and they get this. So when you eat food, it's not in your body straight away. If you swallow that sugar, it's not in you yet. So here's a pool noodle, right? It's got a hole running through it, and here's an almond. And if I put the almond in there, it can go all the way through and out the other end. Whoop-de-doo. Here's another almond. If I put an almond in here, where's the almond? You would say the almond's in the pool noodle. Okay, but is it in the foam that the pool noodle is made of? No, of course not. It's just in the hole that runs through it. That's food. You swallow food, it's not in you. It's in the hole that runs from here to the back door. And getting food into you is called digestion. So with this stuff, you've got to break the bond that's holding the fructose to the glucose. And as soon as you do that, then that stuff can cross the barrier, your internal skin, and into your body, and then it can go around in your blood. That's digestion. But now it's not metabolism yet. It's got to go into your cells and then you've got to burn it up. And if you don't burn it up, if you eat all that sugar after you've had your 3 meals in the day, your body doesn't waste it, doesn't come out here. The stuff that comes out the back door was never in you. Apart from a few molecules of cholesterol, it's just fibre that you couldn't digest, plus the bacteria that live in your gut. You lose about 500 billion of those in one single sitting. They're tiny. That's many times the population of the Earth every time you flush the toilet. It's amazing. But that stuff was never really in you. So here's what happens. If you don't then metabolize that sugar, well, then it's going to get converted into the stuff that we all have a problem with, fat. Now, I better just prove that you do breathe this stuff out, right? If you metabolize sugar, you turn it back into carbon dioxide and water. So every time you exhale, out comes a bit of carbon dioxide. You can't see it. This is the problem. This is why people don't know how you lose weight. So there you go. I've trapped some breath. I've inhaled that. 5% of the air in there is now carbon dioxide because it's come out of my lungs. I've got some liquid nitrogen here, and I'm going to use that to freeze this air. Liquid nitrogen's minus 196. It's very handy. It's right there. In fact, I'll just pour it straight on. So be a little bit careful with this stuff. I use it all the time. If I look a little blasé, I don't mean to. Please respect this stuff if you play with it, the way you would respect boiling hot water. Now, if you pour it onto a balloon, the balloon does not pop, which is incredible. The nitrogen's minus 196. Oxygen turns into a liquid at minus 183. So the oxygen in the balloon is turning into liquid. Carbon dioxide turns solid. I've got a big bowl of it there. But it turns solid at minus 78. So in the balloon now, I have I have liquefied oxygen and frozen carbon dioxide. And when I take it out, you'll see them. So it'll just take a while for the balloon to go a little bit clear at the top. The nitrogen in here, air is 79% nitrogen. The nitrogen is in the top of the balloon. But now, look at that liquid down there. Can you see that? That's the oxygen from my breath that I hadn't used. But once it's all gone, there'll be some white powder left. Right, the white powder is breakfast. That's the carbon dioxide, the carbon atoms I ate in the last 24 hours. And when I blow on them, they get warm enough to turn back into gas, and they vanish, and people think there's nothing in the balloon. The balloon has mass. Those atoms have mass. You can see carbon dioxide has mass when you solidify it, but when you
that's about the mass that you can actually breathe out each day with breath work. So there is rapid breathing technique when you do it purely through the day. As with pure intention, you can focus on whatever your affirmations are, and you can simply breathe out that excess mass and also the guilt. After each time when you eat meal, just, of course, not immediately after the meal, because then you'll get nausea. So it's to be done early morning when you wake up in the morning. Whatever that you've eaten last night, there's a lot of calories that you can simply burn with nearly 10 to 15 minutes of rapid breathing, and then doing stretches or going for a walk. Even while you're walking, doing brisk walking, not the easy walking. It's not the steps that we count that burns your calories. It's the brisk walking. And even if you do 5,000 steps, for example, but you do it brisk, that sweats you out, that takes your metabolism to a certain peak with an affirmation, and breathing out, gushing that air out, where you're, even on a treadmill, indoors, outdoors, whatever, you can simply lose weight. And as I said, it's more with your self-acceptance and body image, which is also directly connected with your self-esteem. Your food associations can simply take a backseat. Whatever are the parts you can simply tap out in your body, the body parts that you're not comfortable with, and simply bring both your hands and continuously keep breathing it out. So at different times of the day, you can do this rapid breathing and empty stomach, and you will actually start reducing weight. I remember in 2017, because that is the time when I'd met with an accident, and before that, I was doing an Everest base camp, for which my instructor said you have to lose at least minimum 10 kg. And within 3 months, just with breath work, I'd lost about 11 kgs by then, by the time I went in April 2017 for my Everest base camp. So, this is all possible just with an affirmation and breath work. You can synchronize the way we look at things. The fat molecule is nothing else, again, as we saw, the carbon and hydrogen and water molecules coming together, and simply that can be broken down into the metabolic understanding. That's why I know it was too scientific for people to make sense out of it, but be aware of what you eat and how you can process and release and let out all these molecules through the breath work. And also that will synchronize your breathing. You'll take in more oxygen, that will go to the brain. You'll feel less fatigued and stressed. You'll be able to sleep very well and balance your diet. And first of all, accept yourself. From there, all the change will begin. If you're dissatisfied with yourself, then definitely we are going to create another cycle of void and self-rejection that will not get you to the next level of health. It's the self-acceptance, making peace with wherever you are, and then trying to change your reality. That is how the possibilities are created when it comes to weight.
Rajeshji, when you say breath work, like rapid breathing means rapid inhaling and exhaling, right?
What we say Kapalbhati, yes.
Or any other kind of breathing exercises also?
So for emotional calming, you can do cleansing breath. Just with an intention, it's the stomach-filled breath that you take with the intention that you are breathing in the positive energy and you're breathing out the negative energy. That is
all those types of breathing that we were taught.
Yes, that you were taught already. That is where it comes in. Fariba. Fariba, anything you want to share? Or ask? Is it convincing when you see that with breath work you can shed weight? How true does it sound to you, Fariba? How much is your mind accepting it on a scale 0 to 10?
I think 50 or 60 is a possibility.
A possibility, 50-50. Maybe you can try doing this for the coming 1 month and see, because it actually will resolve, because Kapalbhati or the rapid breathing also resolves your anxiety. And then that will also satiate your hunger pangs. You'll not feel hungry. Your appetite naturally will come down, because anxiety is also one of the major root causes for our weight gain. It's the inappropriate sleeping. That is another reason. The stress is the third reason. Food is the fourth part that actually gets completely imbalanced because of the rest of the 3 or the 4 layers. And that's where food becomes the culprit, that, oh, I'm eating too much. And then you try to again balance it by eating less. You're depriving your body. So each time you deprive and starve your body, next time when you eat, the body is going to store even more. So please be aware of this continuous loop that we get into. Michelle?
Yes.
Would like to hear from you, your idea of life and weight. If you're there, you can just share. So one of the major things is to first accept yourself wherever you are. The self-acceptance will lead you to the next level of body image. Each day, look at yourself in the mirror. Really appreciate yourself the way you are. Don't get, in the self-rejection mode. And then integrate that part which is actually feeling restless, or do EFT or just breath work, cleansing breath work to accept yourself wherever you are in your life. And that's what will take us to the next level of life. Any other questions?
For me, it's like since I got the hypnotherapy classes, my food intake my appetite has shrunk quite a lot. So I don't
anxiety has reduced after the hypnotherapy classes.
Yes, I don't feel, because before there was this butterfly effect that no matter how much I eat, it still is not enough. But now this is gone to the point that I eat only once a day, and even that the amount is not much, because I feel full right away. But somehow it still is not affected on the weight, which I don't know exactly, because I think the metabolism has slowed down. So I cannot really quite, I'm still on this belief that I can do it without dieting. So I'm still with you.
No, definitely. See, it's more than the metabolism. I guess it's also the anxiety and the calmness and the poise and the, restfulness of the mind. That is also having that effect. Maybe your metabolism is the same, but maybe the anxiety has come down. So that also
yes, sorry. Actually, one thing, when earlier I used to cut down on sugar and carbs, I could cut down on sugar and carbs. But when the stress or anxiety is more, then I can't.
On to it again.
Yeah.
That's the first thing. And that's why, in fact, I took this, entire part. I said, okay, let's Let's connect with these topics so that people can also in our day-to-day time become more aware of how much of carbs and how much of sugar that we pick up whenever we are stressed. And the first thing that gets affected is our sleep.
Yeah. And it's difficult once like you come back on it, and then it's difficult, to again go off it. Then you have to go through all the entire what all you said, to bring that control over that food also.
Food also, exactly.
But if your food intake decreases and your anxiety decreases and your sleep is good and still it does not reflect on the weight, how do you address that then?
So then it is something to do with self-expression. Then it is to do with thyroid or something to do with the way your body is assimilating. So there is maybe underlying vulnerability where you need a layer to protect you. So that's the need for layers around it, because the situations then keep you in that space that I need protection, because weight is the layer of protection around whenever we need it. That's why subconsciously you hold on to it. You don't want to let it go. When everything else is in check and control, and if you're not feeling all of that and still the weight is there, then that definitely has. In fact, what we can do, people who already know hypnotherapy, I think, Fariba, you know that I shared this with one of the questions that was asked on mentorship group. When I said that whenever it is about weight, you check and do organ regeneration. Call the entire accumulated fat in the tray and take a good look around it, that what this fat represents and where is it coming from. And a bunch of inner children and a bunch of all the energies and a bunch of all the people with whom you need to do the energy exchange will come in.
Oh yeah, that is also a good idea.
Yeah. You can do organ regeneration with fat completely. Bring all the fat in the tray for your clients and check where is this coming from. Outside the door is that reason, and how much of this weight belongs to this one, how much of weight belongs to this one, how much of weight belongs to this one. It'll all come in.
What about those weight loss scripts? Like they would also initially
They are also definitely. So what you do, there is hypno belt that you put it. There is this organ regeneration script that you do. And when you are then sealing and shutting that organ regeneration part is where you put the scripts with the hypno belt for the weight loss.
Right.
That's a suggestive part of weight dimension. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Rajesh. I'll also have to leave now.
Take care. Bye-bye. See you, Fariba. Bye, Magdalena. Take care.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.